I want to say a very, very special thanks to each and every one of you. It's awfully kind. I want to say a special thanks to President Fenves and Chairman Goddard, all the trustees and the administration. I am honored to be here today. It's official. You may call me Dr. Tyler Perry. Yes, a doctorate without a student loan, I'll take it all day long. So thank you, Emory. I've always been awe-inspired by this university and the most incredible people that it has unleashed onto the world stage. Some of them I know and respect, and a few are here today. I won't start calling names because then my whole speech will be about the alumni rather than about this incredible graduating class of 2022. Congratulations. I gotta say, I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. You did it. What I'm excited about is this time that you were born into. You were able to get things really quickly because you were born into the time of the internet, a time where everything you need is right there on your phone. If you want food, you press a few buttons and it shows up. If you want directions, you press a few buttons and there it is. If you want information, you press a few buttons and there it is. If you want a date, I'm sure you don't do that here at Emory, but if you did, you could. But it's great. That's why I'm so excited for you. You don't have to wait for anything. It's all right there at your fingertips. It's fast, it's instant, it's right now. But in all honesty, that makes me, it makes me worry for you. Makes me a bit sad for you. Now, before you hashtag and cancel me, let me tell you what I mean. I feel sad for you because you don't know what it's like to have to get into your car, go to a gas station and buy this thing we used to call a map. Yeah, and then go back to your car and try to read it, but it was too big, so you had to get out and put it on the hood of the car so you can figure out the way to get to your grandmother's house. You don't know anything about that. You don't know what it's like to want to watch a movie and have to get in your car and drive to a place that was called Blockbuster. And if you didn't rewind that tape, then they charge you for it. You don't know anything about that. You don't know what it's like to want to listen to some music and have to get into your car and go to a place called a record store and buy an album or a cassette tape. It was this little, never mind. Anyway, you don't know what it's like to put that brand new cassette tape in your car and then pull it out and realize it's jammed and all the tape comes out and you spend the next hours with your finger trying to wind it back into that case. I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy, but I'm telling you, this is how it was. You don't know what it's like to want to look for a business and then have to go get the yellow pages and look through it. That's how we let our fingers do the walking back then. I know you're thinking, Tyler, how old are you? And you're also saying, man, that was awful. That must have been really, really, really awful. No, it wasn't. I mean, compared to what you have, it was pretty awful. It was pretty awful. But the greatest advantage of having those experiences is that if you wanted anything, it took effort, it took time. You know, I believe that this time that you have grown up in has given some of you, not all of you, but some of you, a false sense of reality. I know you're excited to get out into the world, but as your commencement speaker, I hope that I can help you prepare for what's beyond your college years. And the reality is, success to most does not come quickly. Most dreams do not appear in your life without hard work, struggle, and sacrifice. And I know a lot of you know that. Now, I know that may be hard for some of the others to understand, especially when you see people on the internet who can make so much money all of a sudden, getting millions of views, making crazy amount of money for shaving their knuckles. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people who have built some really impressive businesses online. I'm not knocking them, I'm congratulating them. But I'm saying to you, for some, it takes a while to build a dream. I'm gonna get some water here because I'm getting dry mouth. But stay with me, I'm going somewhere. And I know that it takes a while to build a dream because of my professors. Now, unfortunately, I didn't go to college, but yet I had many professors. These people weren't academias, but what they were professors, like my Aunt May. I remember being a very little boy. I would spend the summers with her in rural Louisiana. In her living room of this rundown house, there was an iron bed, and in that bed lay an old man. He was covered in a quilt that she had made. He was her father. His name was Papa Rod, and he was a freed slave. Early in the morning before the sun would come up, I was very little. My aunt would wake me up. She'd take me out to the fields with her, and she would dig a hole. And as she dug a hole, my job was to drop a seed in each one of those holes. Every day, I would go out there with her, and as we were there all through the summer, I was expecting something to be growing up the next day. And I go out there and I say, nothing yet. And she would say, baby, all we can do is plant. It's going to take God to give the increase. I never forgot those words. Growing up in New Orleans in a household that was marred by abuse, I couldn't wait to get older to get out of there. I remember being about 19 years old watching the Oprah show, and she said it was cathartic to write things down, and I had to go find a dictionary to see what that word meant because of the school system I was in. So I started writing what would become my first play called I Know I've Been Changed. Around that same time, I was looking for a job on ZipRecruiter, and never mind, it wasn't ZipRecruiter, it was this big black and white thing we call a newspaper. And I saw an ad for a car salesman at a dealership in a little town called Emory, Louisiana. So I got up early that morning like my grandmother had taught me to. I was the first one there to get an application. And as I was filling it out, several other men came in and started filling out applications. None of them looked like me. I sat there and I watched the manager of the dealership come out and choose every man around me to interview until it was my turn. I was the last one still sitting there. Rather than him coming to interview me, I watched him walk over to a salesman who I'm sure had no ability to hire. He gave him my application. Then the manager went into his office, and the salesman came, he approached me. He was looking at me, he's looking at the application. He looks me right in my eyes and he said, you know, you didn't go to college, you didn't finish high school, you don't finish anything. You didn't even finish the application. You don't finish anything. Needless to say, I didn't get that job, and thank God, because something happened right after that would change my life. I had two friends that were in college, and they were living here in Atlanta, and they invited me up to spring break. But for black kids, it was called Freaknik. I'm telling you, that's what we called it. It was the ultimate spring break for black kids. Now, white kids would go to the beach. Black kids in the 90s went to Greenbrier Mall for spring break. I don't know why that is, but that's what we did. But while the other kids were partying and having fun, I was exposed to something that would change my life. For the first time in my life, coming from the poverty of New Orleans, I saw black people doing well. Some of them were graduates from Emory. I was so inspired that I moved here and I made Atlanta my home. Here, I was going to try and build my dream. I got jobs, I saved money. I saved enough money to rent the 14th Street Playhouse to put on my first play. I was expecting 1,200 people to come over the course of the weekend. Only 30 showed up for 6 performances. I was devastated. But out of that 30, there was someone that wanted to invest. It's like my grandmother would say, baby, there's a ram in the bush. That someone wanted to invest, so I tried it again. And guess what happened? Nothing. There was someone else in the next crowd who wanted to invest. We tried it again, and nothing. I tried that play in different parts of the country, and still nothing. For 7 years of trying over and over and over again. Eventually, I would end up homeless here on the streets of Atlanta, sleeping in a car that I was hiding from the repo man. I was suicidal. I wanted to give up. But I felt something that kept calling me, something that kept pushing me forward. For me, that is what I call and believe to be God. Now listen, if you don't want me to talk about God, listen, I don't want to offend anybody, but this is my story, so God's in it, okay? So that's where it is. So if my speech bothers you, I'm sorry, just hush. So there I was, homeless, 7 years of trying to get that same show going. And I decided I was going to give up. That was it. Never going to work. I was going to do what my mother said. She told me to go and get a job at this company called South Central Bell. You know it as AT&T today. She said, Junior, get you a job making you about $300 or $400 a week, get you some benefits, and let that play go. Stop doing that. And it was around that time that I met a promoter named Arthur Primus, who was also one of my professors. He wanted to invest in doing the play one more time, and I finally relented to do it. But I found out that he didn't have the money to pay for the advertising, and yet I was hearing it advertised all over the city. I said, how is that happening? He said, son, I have relationships, and they trust me to pay them when I get the money. We did that show, and it sold out. March 12th, 1998, at the Tabernacle. Then went on to the Fox Theater on Peachtree and sold out 2 more shows. My dream had arrived. It showed up when I was about to give up on everything. I often think about where would I be had I walked away at that moment. But in that success, I realized something. All of the people in my life who had said all these things to me, they had told me what I could not be, but no one had told me what I could be. It was right then and there that I decided that I was going to dig in and seize the moment. Whatever was happening, I was going to do it. I went out on tour, and me, myself, on stage, performing hundreds of performances a year. Then I went on to television and movies. Today, I have a catalog of over 2,000 hours of shows. I've done 24 movies, many of them opening #1 at the box office. I own a studio where thousands of people come to work every day. Many of them would have never gotten a shot to be in this business. All of that to say, I know a thing or two about how long it takes to build a dream. I heard a saying once that if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I'm sure you've heard that. But I want to challenge that, because if you do what you love, you will work harder than you ever have worked and harder than you could ever imagine. Your dreams will call for that kind of commitment. It took an insane work ethic for me to get here. It took time and commitment and sacrificing. I remember recently maybe I shouldn't say this, but I want to say it. I remember recently giving a job interview to someone who was about your age, and I was telling her what the job requires, and it's 8 hours a day, and you have to commit to it. And she stopped me mid-sentence. She said, "I'm sorry, that won't work for me." I said, "Okay, why not?" She said, "I only want to work 4 hours a day." I said, "Where do they do that at?" I said, "Why? Why is that?" She said, "I have to have work-life balance." But there are 24 hours in a day and you only want to work 4? She's like, "Yes." And she took out a razor and started to shave her knuckles. She's doing very well right now, so don't worry about her. I'm joking, but listen to me. Don't be afraid of hard work. Don't be afraid of the pressure that will come in order for you to see your dreams through. As you leave the safety of these hallowed grounds, I want you to continue to look for professors. I can look at your face right now, you're going, "Tyler, I don't want to see another professor as long as I live." But I assure you, professors will be with you all of your life. I'm 52 years old and I'm still meeting professors. And what that means is anyone who comes into your life, anyone who comes to teach you something, to bring value, sometimes these lessons are hard and painful, but yet they are there to make you stronger. So count those people as professors. Like that awful man from the car dealership. He said, "You never finish anything." And as awful as that moment was, he was a professor. Because anytime I set out to do anything in the world, I finish it because I remember his voice. He was a professor. Like the promoter I was talking about, Arthur Primus, who taught me the importance of having good relationships, having a good name so people will trust you. When you say it, do it, and they'll give you the opportunities and the credit extended to you because you have a good name. Arthur was a professor. Like my Aunt May, when I was out planting those seeds in the ground and didn't see anything, the next day she was teaching me patience and the understanding that when you plant a seed, you have to wait for that seed to grow. You can't control when it will grow. You can't control the rains or the sunlight. You can't see what's going on under the soil. All you know is that you plant it and one day God will give the increase. My Aunt May was a professor. So as you're planting, as you're starting your life, as you're starting your careers, starting your businesses, remember that it may take a while for you to build your dream. I met an amazing professor a few weeks ago. She's 99 years old. Her name is Lena Darracott King. And I have to tell you about her. And listen, I have done some pretty impressive things. I've sat at the White House on the Truman balcony with former President Barack Obama and Michelle. I've had dinner with Nelson Mandela. But this woman, she impressed me so much. I'm sitting there with her. She's 99 years old. She was a member of the 6th AAA Battalion in World War II. She and 800 other black women went over into the war to clear a backlog of mail that was over 2 years old. soldiers weren't getting mail from home for 2+ years, and these 800 women went over and cleared that backlog of over 16 million pieces of mail in less than 90 days. She was a professor. She talked about work ethic. If I had given up when my plays weren't working, if I had committed suicide, I would have missed the best part of my life. As bad as it was, and it was really, really dark, as bad as it was, there was a better day waiting for me. If I had given up then, the thousands of people that come to work at Tyler Perry Studios may not have had a chance to see their dreams. Most of them marginalized people. And let me share a bit of poetic justice with you about the land that studio's on, that we come to work on. That land was once a Confederate Army base, and now every kind of race is represented working there. And that land is owned by a descendant of the very people that those soldiers were fighting to keep enslaved. And I want to, yeah. And I want to close by sharing this last one thing with you. I remember being on the beach with my son. He was about 4 years old at the time, and we were walking up the beach. And I'm trying to get to the end of the beach because it's hot, the sun is blaring down, and he's behind me, and he's jumping, and he's falling, and he's jumping. And I'm just like, Lord have mercy, son, please come sit down. I just want to sit down. Here's another tidbit. Black people don't go to the beach for a tan. So maybe that's why we were all going to Greenbrier Mall. I don't know, but anyway, my son was there jumping, and I finally stopped and I turned to him, and he's covered with sand. It's on his face. It's on his legs. I said, what are you doing? And he said something to me that moved me. He said, look, Papa, I'm following in your footsteps. He was jumping to try to keep up with my gait. And I think about that, and it brought tears to my eyes. This beautiful, innocent little creature wanted to follow in his father's footsteps. Listen, I said to him, let me tell you something. Hold my hand, we're gonna walk up the beach together. We walked up the beach, we got to the end of it, and I said, look. He looked back and he saw his footprints and mine. I said, you made your own footsteps, and Papa made his. So today, I want to say to you, this is your life, not your parents', not anyone else's. It's your life to live. So don't be afraid to chart your own course. Don't be afraid to make your own way. Don't be afraid to walk your own path and leave your own footprints. And there are those of you that may be trying to dig in. There's a special few trying to dig in, want to dig in to make your footprints, and nothing is happening. I want you to know that maybe because you're trying to dig into air, because some of you were meant to fly. So with that said, I want you to have an incredible work ethic. Look for your professors and leave your footprints. Congratulations, God bless you, and thank you so much for having me.